There is a lake in Russia where standing on the shore for a single hour will kill you, and you will never see the thing that does it. There is a place in Africa where the ground itself runs downhill faster than you can drive, glowing at 1100 degrees. And at number 3, you will stand in front of a single object so dangerous that the men who documented it could only do it by pushing a camera toward it on wheels from around a corner, because standing in front of it meant death. 10 places where the planet does not tolerate human life at all. Stay with me, because by the end of this video you will understand exactly what kills you at each one, and why some of them can never be made safe again. We tell ourselves the Earth is our home, but there are corners of it where the air, the ground, or the water will end a human life in minutes, sometimes in seconds. Some were made by nature, some we made ourselves and then lost control of. And stay until the end, because number 1 is not a wild place at all. It is a single room built by human hands that will remain lethal for longer than our species has existed. We begin in the American desert. Number 10, Death Valley, California. On the 10th of July, 1913, a thermometer in Furnace Creek reached 56.7 degrees Celsius, 134 Fahrenheit, the highest air temperature ever reliably recorded on the surface of the Earth. More than a century later, that record still stands. The heat here is not just uncomfortable, it is mechanical. Human beings survive by sweating, by letting evaporating water pull heat off the skin. But in Death Valley, the air can be hotter than your own body, and the ground can pass 90 degrees. Once the air is hotter than you are, sweat stops cooling you and starts to fail. Your core temperature climbs past the point the body can tolerate, and heat stroke, the failure of the body's entire cooling system, can set in within hours. Without shade and water, a healthy adult can die here in a single afternoon. The name is not a metaphor. In 1849, a group of pioneers trying to shortcut their way to the gold fields became trapped in this basin. And as they finally escaped, one looked back and said goodbye to Death Valley. The name stuck for a reason. This is the one place on the list where the danger is simply the air, sitting still on a sunny day. And it is only the mildest thing we will see. The next place does not burn you, it dissolves you. Number 9, the Danakil Depression. In the Afar region of Ethiopia, 3 tectonic plates are slowly tearing apart, and the wound they leave is one of the strangest landscapes on Earth. It is the hottest inhabited place on the planet, measured across the whole year, averaging around 35 degrees Celsius, and it sits more than 100 meters below sea level, so the heat has nowhere to escape. But the heat is not what makes Danakil deadly. At a place called Hadavault, the ground bubbles up in pools of neon yellow and green, hot springs saturated with acid, some measuring a pH close to 0. That is not far from the acid inside a car battery. Around the edges, the air fills with chlorine and sulfur gases that sear the lungs. Birds and insects that wander too close are found dead around the rims. And here is the twist. This lethal alien ground is one of the closest things on Earth to the surface of early Mars. So scientists come here not despite the danger, but because of it, searching these acid pools for the limits of life itself. A place too poisonous for us to survive is exactly where we go to understand how life begins. But the next place kills with something you cannot see, smell, or outrun. Number 8, Lake Kivu. On the border between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda lies a beautiful mountain lake, around 2,700 square kilometers of calm water, with around 2 million people living along its shores. Beneath that calm surface, it is a loaded weapon. Dissolved in the deep water of Lake Kivu are enormous volumes of carbon dioxide and, more unusually, methane. Hundreds of cubic kilometers of gas, held down by the pressure of the water above. It is one of only 3 known lakes on Earth that do this. You saw what happened at one of the others in an earlier video. A lake in Cameroon that exhaled once and killed more than 1,700 people in a night. Lake Kivu holds the same danger on a vastly larger scale. If a volcanic eruption or a large earthquake ever disturbs its depths, the balance breaks. The lake could overturn and the dissolved gas would rush upward all at once, erupting from the surface in a single catastrophic burst. An invisible flood of carbon dioxide rolling outward across the water and the shore, heavier than air, silent, hugging the ground. Some scientists fear it could reach the millions of people sleeping around the lake before any of them ever woke. And the volcano that could trigger it is not hypothetical. It is next on this list. The people of Kivu live on the shore of a lake that is patient and full and waiting, because just above them stands the mountain that could set it off. Number 7, Mount Nyiragongo. Rising 2 miles above the same border, Nyiragongo holds something almost no other volcano on Earth has kept for so long. A permanent lake of open lava churning in its crater, one of the largest ever recorded. Just about 15 kilometers below it sits the city of Goma, home to more than 1 million people. Most volcanoes give you time. Their lava is thick and slow, crawling forward at a walking pace. Nyiragongo's does not. Its lava is unusually poor in silica, the compound that normally makes molten rock sticky. And without it, the lava runs like hot oil. In 1977, the crater wall cracked open and the entire lava lake, hundreds of meters deep, drained in under an hour, racing down the mountain's steep slopes at speeds reported up to 60 kilometers an hour. It was the fastest lava ever observed anywhere on Earth. The flows swept through villages in the dark while people slept, and those in their path were overtaken where they stood with no time to understand what was coming. In 2002, it happened again. This time, the lava poured directly into the city itself, cutting through the streets of Goma, swallowing entire neighborhoods and running across the airport runway before it finally cooled. A volcano you cannot outrun rewrites the oldest rule of survival, that you can always run. But the next place does not need speed to kill. It only needs you to breathe. Number 6, the Ijen volcano. On the island of Java in Indonesia, a volcano called Ijen burns with a light that should not exist. Rivers of electric blue flame pouring down its slopes in the dark. It is one of the only places on Earth where you can see it. The blue fire is not lava, it is burning gas. Ijen vents sulfuric gases at more than 600 degrees, and when they hit the air, they ignite. Blue flames up to 5 meters high. And here, in air thick enough to kill, men work. Miners climb into the crater by hand to hack out chunks of solid yellow sulfur, carrying loads of up to 90 kilograms on their backs, often with nothing over their faces but a wet cloth. The same gas that makes the fire makes the air lethal. Breathed in, the sulfur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide react with the moisture in the lungs and turn, quite literally, into acid inside the body, burning the airways from within. Over years, the miners' teeth rot, their lungs scar, and their lives shorten. And the danger is not only slow. The gas pools in the crater in invisible clouds, and a sudden shift in the wind can wrap a man in a lungful of it with no warning at all. Enough more than once to kill outright. That is disturbing. The most beautiful fire on Earth is a warning sign that the air itself has turned to poison, and men breathe it anyway for a few dollars a day. But none of these places compare to the water at number 5, because there the danger is invisible and it never leaves. We are halfway. So far, the Earth has tried to kill us with heat, with acid, with gas, and with fire. From here on, the danger changes because the last places on this list were not made by nature. They were made by us. You are about to see the place at number 3, the one I promised you at the start, a single object sitting in a basement that kills anyone who looks at it too long and that no one has ever found a way to remove. And at number 1, a room so lethal that the people who built its tomb are already planning who will guard it in 100 years. But first, the deadliest water on Earth. Number 5, Lake Karachay. In the southern Ural Mountains of Russia sits a small lake that for decades did not appear on any public map. From the shore, it looks like nothing. Gray water, low banks. In 1990, standing at its edge for a single hour would have delivered a radiation dose of around 600 Roentgen. That is enough to kill you. Here is how an ordinary lake became the most radioactive place on the surface of the Earth. Beginning in the late 1940s, the secret Soviet nuclear weapons complex known as Mayak needed somewhere to pour its most concentrated liquid radioactive waste. They chose Karachay. For decades, they poured it in, until the lake held, by some estimates, more radioactive material than was released at Chernobyl. Then in 1968, a drought did something no one had planned for. The lake began to dry. The wind lifted the exposed radioactive dust off the lake bed and scattered it across the region, exposing 500,000 people. There was no way to clean it and no way to drain it. In the end, the only solution was to erase it, to bury the lake completely, filling it with nearly 10,000 concrete blocks, then rock and earth until the water was gone. They did not save the lake. They entombed it, and the poison still sits beneath the concrete, seeping toward the groundwater. The next place is not hidden or secret. Millions of people walk past its edge, and the danger is in the air they breathe. Number 4, Mount Washington. In the northeastern United States in New Hampshire stands a mountain that looks almost gentle. Green in summer, popular with hikers, barely 1,900 meters tall. It has killed more than 160 people. It calls itself home to some of the worst weather in the world. The reason is geography, not height. 3 major storm tracks collide directly over this peak, and the shape of the mountains funnels and accelerates the wind as it is forced upward. For over 60 years, Mount Washington held the record for the highest wind gust ever measured by a person anywhere on Earth. 372 kilometers per hour in 1934. That is the twist that catches people. This is not a remote Himalayan giant. It is a modest mountain a short drive from major cities, which is exactly why it is so deadly. Hikers arrive on a mild morning in summer clothes and within hours are caught in freezing fog, hurricane winds, and ice in July. The mountain does not warn you because from the parking lot it looks like nothing at all. The most dangerous mountains are not always the tallest. Sometimes they are the ones that look safe, but the next place hides the single most dangerous object human beings have ever created. Number 3, the one I promised you, the elephant's foot. Deep beneath the ruined reactor at Chernobyl in Ukraine, in a dark maintenance corridor no one was ever meant to enter, sits a mass of black glassy material that looks like melted wax poured across the floor. It is not rock, and it is not lava. It is something humanity had never made before, and it is one of the most dangerous objects on the planet. When the reactor exploded in 1986, the nuclear fuel inside melted and mixed with sand, concrete, and molten steel into a burning liquid called corium. Glowing and molten, it flowed downward like something alive, burning through pipes and eating through concrete floors until it pooled in a basement room and slowly cooled into this single terrible mass, meters wide, folded and wrinkled where it had congealed. They named it the elephant's foot for the shape of it, sagging against the floor. When it was first found, it was almost incomprehensibly radioactive. Standing beside it for just 5 minutes was a lethal dose. 4 minutes, and the sickness would begin. The men sent to document it could not simply walk up and photograph it, so they pushed a camera toward it on wheels from around a corner because to stand in front of it for long was to die. And here is the part that stays with you. You cannot move it. You cannot cool it down or break it up or seal it away because anyone who gets close enough to try will die before they finish. It simply has to be left exactly where it is, slowly decaying for centuries. We built something we are not able to unbuild. Think of everything else on this list: the heat, the acid, the lava. Every one of them is nature being itself. This is the only one we made on purpose, in a single night, and then discovered we could never take back. The elephant's foot is a monument to a terrible truth, that we can now create things too dangerous for us to ever undo, and it is not the only one. The next place is an entire island built on the same idea, and it is quietly disappearing. Number 2, the Runit Dome. On a tiny island in the Marshall Islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there is a vast dome of concrete, sitting low against the sky like the shell of some enormous buried creature. It is 115 meters across. Underneath it lies some of the most contaminated material on Earth. After the United States tested dozens of nuclear weapons across these atolls in the 1950s, it was left with a landscape soaked in radioactive debris. So at the end of the 1970s, crews scraped up more than 80,000 cubic meters of contaminated soil and waste, bulldozed it into an unlined crater left by one of the blasts, and capped it with a dome of concrete nearly half a meter thick. A temporary fix, but here is the quiet horror of it. The crater beneath was never sealed at the bottom. The waste sits directly on the porous ground, and seawater moves in and out of it freely. Now the ocean that surrounds it is rising. Cracks have spidered across the concrete shell. Seawater already moves through the waste with the tides, and scientists warn that the rising Pacific is beginning to reach the contents from below, so that a single powerful storm, or a few more decades of climbing seas, could crack the dome open and pull its radioactive contents out into the ocean the islanders depend on for their food. You read that correctly. A structure built to contain the most dangerous waste of the nuclear age is now being slowly opened. Not by us, but by the sea. The dome was meant to outlast the danger inside it. Instead, the danger will outlast the dome. But none of these prepare you for what comes last. Number 1. Onkalo. On the coast of Finland, engineers have spent years drilling down half a kilometer into solid bedrock, not to take something out, but to put something in and seal it away forever. When it is full, they intend to close it and never open it again. Onkalo is the world's first permanent tomb for high-level nuclear waste, the spent fuel from nuclear reactors. And this is the material at the heart of every human-made place on this list. When it comes out of a reactor, it is so radioactive that standing near it unshielded would kill you in minutes. And it does not stay dangerous for years or for centuries. It stays lethal for up to 100,000 years. Let that sink in. 100,000 years ago, our species had not yet left Africa. No language you have ever heard existed. And the waste we are burying today will still be deadly when a stretch of time that long has passed again into the future. That is the problem Onkalo was built to solve. And it raises a question no engineer has ever faced before. How do you warn someone 100,000 years from now? Every language will be gone. Every symbol we use may mean nothing or the opposite of what we intend. A skull and crossbones might read as a curiosity or a challenge. Committees of scientists, linguists, and artists have spent years on the problem, and they have not agreed. Some proposed fields of giant concrete spikes meant to feel hostile and wrong. Some proposed carving the warning into the landscape itself. Others concluded that any marker at all only advertises that something valuable is buried below, and that the only truly safe message is no message. To build the tomb, seal it, erase it from the surface, and trust that it is simply never found. Because here is the truth that ties this whole list together. The Elephant's Foot, the Runit Dome, the buried lake in Russia, they are all the same story. We learn to unleash a kind of danger that outlives everything about us, our cities, our languages, our monuments, perhaps our species. The most dangerous places on Earth are no longer the ones nature made. They are the ones we made. And then realized we had built something that will still be deadly long after the last person who remembers why is gone. Death Valley will cool. The volcano will one day sleep. But the tomb in Finland is designed for 100,000 years of silence, and it is the closest thing our species has ever built to forever. So that is the list. 10 places where the Earth or our own hands made the ground too dangerous to stand on. Drop a comment and tell me which country you're watching from. And out of all 10, tell me which one unsettled you the most. The ones nature built or the ones we did. I read all of them, I promise. And if you want to uncover even more of Earth's greatest mysteries, our next documentary explores places on Earth that even scientists still can't explain. Subscribe so you don't miss it.